guys, Blue,
Delta,
and this is the deck profile of the Yugi Kaiba hybrid deck from his duel against Noah. This was originally not on our plan to do, but as time went on, it became more and more favorable that we decided to, especially with the 3 versus 1 we pulled off, instead of just doing Kaiba versus Noah, which we would have liked to see, we decided to just mix the 2 decks together and actually turned out to be a 41 card deck using all the cards and only the cards that were played or used throughout that duel. But this is a custom creation. This is not one of our actual decks. This is actually that Yugi and Kaiba deck truly mixed together. So after this, we're taking the deck apart. We can always put it back together again, but it will not be a standing deck. But we are deck profiling it because it's almost an even split too of Kaiba and Yugi, and it will be in the deck list, so you can always see what it was. So we're gonna go through it. This is a fun deck because we both played this deck a lot in testing, and it was a really cool deck because it has Dark Magician, it has 3 blue eyes, it has a lot of the, epitome cards of the characters, and surprisingly, it works out pretty well despite a high level of tributes and mixing 2 characters decks. This deck actually plays out fairly smoothly, or at least it does well against Noah. So we'll go through, and we'll also, of course, make sure to indicate which was Yugi's, which was Kaiba's. So first up, Alpha the Magnet Warrior.
Yugi's if you can't guess. Interestingly, Yugi did not play Beta. He did play Gamma and Alpha, but not Beta. Who knows why? Just the way it is.
But interestingly, this deck does include Valkyrian, except that he never did summon Valkyrian. But I just said it was cards that were used. Valkyrian was used to ritual summon Magician of Black Chaos. So again, even though the card wasn't actually played, it was definitely used. So
the 3 blue eyes white dragon.
Looking awesome as ever.
Not much more to say. Obviously, Kaiba had them in his deck. It was actually Yugi though who used the blue eyes white dragons. He made blue eyes ultimate, and then used Defusion to summon the 3 blue eyes and attack to wipe out Noah's 11,000 life points.
Unlike our Noah deck, the one in the anime between the Shinado's Arc Deckmaster effect and the Shinado Deckmaster effect that we actually did not incorporate into his deck, Noah's deck revolved around giving him a lot of life points. So you needed a creative way to beat him. And Kaiba did summon one of his blue eyes, so there was some symbolism when Yugi plays Card of Sanctity. Draws 2 blue eyes, Monster Reborn, Polymerization, Defusion, and Quick Attack, which we don't need, but... So he brought back Kaiba's Fallen blue eyes, fused it with the 2 he had, and Yugi, being the king of games, made a spectacular play, combining, well, actually, it wasn't even his cards. He didn't make, Dragon Master Knight. He just took Kaiba's Ultimate Monster, put the smackdown on Noah, freed Kaiba and Mokuba, because Noah was trying everyone to stone, because he's kind of a spoiled child a-hole.
Coming off of blue eyes, there's Yugi's Dark Magician.
So, of course, with Yugi comes Dark Magician, and actually it ended up being attributed by Noah via Change of Heart. So Noah really kept one-upping Yugi, even as Dark Magician fell to Noah. But it still is really cool to see that, again, this is the only deck to combine Blue Eyes and Dark Magician.
The only anime deck.
Yeah.
Obviously, people could do it in real life. We know that.
But we don't care about that.
Gamma, just, like we said, goes along with Alpha and not Beta. Usually we would say it goes along with Alpha, Beta, but not.
And again, we did think about adding Beta, but we wanted this deck to play like the one in the anime, so... Valkyrian is more or less a dead card, but between the Ritual spell and card destruction,
it doesn't really matter much.
And again, this deck played pretty fluid anyway. It didn't matter if there was a dead Valkyrian. Even though we try to minimize that, this deck is built accurately in that cards that were played. And if there's no Beta, we will respect that and not add Beta.
Yeah, unlike a standing deck, this is basically built for the sole purpose of that one duel. So we keep it as accurate to the cards played during that duel as possible. We would. Gazelle, the king of mythical beasts. But there is no Baphomet.
The only fusions that were played were Kaiba's.
Big Shield Gardna. Not much more to say. Yugi used it all the time since Battle City. Just one of those beefy monsters. Cyberjar.
Good old Cyberjar. Bounces around every once in a while.
Nice field wipe. This is this deck's only field wipe compared to like Noah, who is Dark Hole.
Electra, who has 2 Cyberjar.
Dark Magician Girl.
So we're back to Yugi now with this ever trusty Dark Magician Girl. After she made her debut against Arcana, she's been a staple to Yugi. Also, Taya. Briefly.
Back to Kaiba with another one tribute monster, Different Dimension Dragon. Sort of the inverse of Obnoxious Celtic Guard. This one can't be destroyed by monsters with 1900 attack or less. And also has a nifty effect of not being able to be destroyed by a spell or trap card effect that doesn't target. So Dark Hole has nothing on Different Dimension Dragon. 2 Giant Germ, another Kaiba card.
And again, we only ever saw it in 2, so even though it potentially could be at 3, we're capping it at what we saw.
Yeah.
Because stuff like Giant Germ or Malicious, I mean, unless it's a character like, say, Arcana, where we need to fill his deck up so he has 3 Mystic Tomatoes, if we have a character with enough cards and they only play 2 copies of any kind of searcher card like that, we'd like to limit it to, you know, the accurate amount seen.
Kaiser Seahorse.
One of Kaiba's deck masters.
Karibo. One of Yugi's deck masters. Obnoxious Celtic Guard.
This card actually came in really clutch for Delta in the Yugi/Kaiba versus Noah duel. Because of its effect, I could not get over with Shinado, and it saved Delta. It's pretty much the reason he won, is I could not do the damage I needed to with that card.
Always a good card for a Yugi deck. I love the art too, guys. Can you take a second to appreciate this?
That looks exactly like Celtic Guardian, but in a more badass pose.
Yeah. The original cards have such good art sometimes, when Konami cared. Sangan, aka Always Search Cyberjar. Might as well be what it is in this deck. But you can search like Obnoxious Celtic Guard or Karibo for a situation you need as well.
Yeah. So again, because we mixed Yugi and Kaiba's decks, although that's not how it necessarily happened in the anime, we can now search Cyberjar with Sangan, which is always a favorable move, because Sangan is the field wipe / draw card that everyone loves.
Slate Warrior.
So back to Kaiba's muscle. This deck does not have Voice Rated, obviously, since we would have passed already. Lodgin. So this is one of the few cards left that is Kaiba's muscle. And especially with the flip effect, you know, assuming your opponent's not on the offensive, you can get even stronger.
Spear Dragon, more muscle, but with a downside.
Yeah, that Goblin Attack Force syndrome.
It is cool, though. A very cool card.
But also piercing.
Continuing it with Kaiba's cards, 3 Thunder Dragon.
Because it always works out in 3s. Discard 1, search 2, Fusion Summon.
Yep. Always a good strategy. And with 2 Polymerization in this deck, it is easier than in a typical Kaiba deck to make Twin Head Thunder Dragon.
And in that duel, Kaiba did summon his 2.5 Thunder Dragon. And as we already said, Yugi summoned Blue's Ultimate. So Kaiba's 2 fusions in Virtual World, one was played by each of them in that duel, which is kind of interesting that...
Yeah, that is cool.
They each played one of his fusions.
Valkyrion.
So like we said, it's actually a dead card. They did not play beta, because they didn't use beta to summon Valkyrion. But we have it because he actually used it to...
Some Magician Black Chaos.
Which is interesting because that means we saw Ritual Summon from the hand, which does not always happen. They do like to use monsters in the field for dramatic purposes. Also, it was a one-of, so instead of using multiple monsters, like I give off everything I have for my Ritual monster, I'll just toss Valkyrian. It's got 8 stars. They took the shortcut route.
Back to a Kaiba card.
It comes in handy every once in a while. It does have the great effect where you have to make your opponent discard
From their deck, whatever type you choose, monster, spell, trap.
And if you have this card and your opponent with Noah's deck, tries to use Earthshaker, well, Vampire Lord will come back because of his own effect. So
choose dark every time.
So if you have Vampire Lord and any other attribute, it's Earthshaker proof. Or, of course, like Dark Hole, but...
And Fissure, but, you know, that Earthshaker interaction is important. Magician Black Chaos, the last monster. Also possibly the coolest. That's hard to say. In a Yugi Kaiba mix deck, it's hard to call any card the coolest, but it did come in clutch for Yugi. So did Valkyrion, because you wouldn't have summoned this without Valkyrion.
And that makes this deck actually the first one chronologically to feature both Dark Magician and Magician of Black Chaos alongside Dark Magician Girl, who benefits from them both, because Battle City only had Dark Magician, Duelist Kingdom had Dark Magician and Magician of Black Chaos, so Yugi's Virtual World deck, and then also through extension the Kaiba Yugi deck, had all three of them. Which really isn't relevant, it's just more of a fun trivia.
Black Magic Ritual.
Spell card time.
Card Destruction comes in handy quite a lot. Ditch a handful of Blue Eyes, Valkyrion, that kind of stuff to just dig deeper for cards you need.
I mean, this deck has a lot of draw potential.
Thunder Dragon plus this gets you an extra draw.
Yeah, and so, again, having a lot of high-level monsters has not been much of a downside because this deck has cards to handle them.
And that draw power Blue was talking about, Card of Sanctity.
So, of course, Card of Destruction, Card of Sanctity, courtesy of Yugi. Card of Sanctity being the reason Yugi won, as I already said previously. He drew the 6 cards he needed to perfectly defeat Noah with Blue Eyes Ultimate. And actually, a quick thing about Card Destruction. It was funny because when Yugi played that, Noah had bragged about his Ground Erosion card, which allowed him to return a spirit monster from the grave. So he was showing off to Yugi, saying, I can get my monster back. He took back a Naba White Rabbit, and then Yugi Card Destruction. Yugi had no cards in his hand, but he got rid of Noah's monster. And it was actually a funny moment where, of course, the bad guy paid for bragging too hard.
Diffusion, another card Yugi used to win the duel.
But Diffusion was Kaiba's. Yugi did not have a copy of Diffusion in his own deck, or we could presume, because we never saw it until the mashup duel. So, Diffusion was led to believe to be Kaiba's, and that even though Yugi played it, again, he was playing Kaiba's cards as well, with whatever Kaiba had left in his deck.
And Kaiba's cards better than Kaiba could.
But that does leave us to believe that the second polymerization was Yugi's, because we have no further reason to think that Kaiba had 2 polymerizations. No one's ever really had 2 polymerizations. Everyone kind of just has their one, and they get out whichever fusion works best.
Monster Reborn brought back Blue Eyes. There's almost never anything distinct to say about Monster Reborn, but it helped him. It's another card that helped him win the duel. And yet another card that helped Yugi win the duel. Polymerization. 1 for Twin Thunder Dragon, 1 for Blue Eyes Ultimate, like we've been saying. Pot of Greed. Yeah, I'm actually almost surprised that Yugi did in Card of Sanctity, draw 6 cards including Pot of Greed, and then play Pot of Greed to have a cool 7-card intricate combo instead of just the original 6 off Card of Sanctity. Wouldn't have surprised me if they went that route. Ring of Defense.
So, clearly, a Joey card.
Yeah. JK were king against Yugi's.
So, Kaiba's signature Ring of Defense, Ring of Destruction combo made their appearance.
Yugi's signature Swords Revealing Light making its appearance.
So again, this deck is a great blend of notable cards from both of the 2 heroes.
It's a fun deck to play. It's fun to play Yugi's and Kaiba's cards. You draw a hand with Swords and Blue Eyes and Dark Magician and Obnoxious Celtic Guard and Kaiser Seahorse.
And then the Swords is also what really helps this deck go, because it can buy you the time you need to help summon more of those level 8 monsters.
Crush Card Virus.
So, beginning of the traps is the so popular Crush card, Kaiba's signature trap. And again, we'll say every once in a while, the white stick in the corner means we are playing this card with an errated effect, which usually means it's the anime effect. In Crush Card's case, it is the original printed effect before Konami changed it to make the card less powerful in games. That also happens to be generally roughly its anime effect, but we're actually changing it back to its original printing.
From what Konami's most recent errata was. But in this deck, it's actually surprisingly easy to pull off, because not only do you have Kaiba's 2 Giant Germs and Cyberjar, which you never, I don't know, Cyberjar tributing for Crush Card may be worth in some situations, but I certainly don't want to. On top of those three, though, you have Yugi's Sangan and Kuribo. So, really easy to get off in this deck.
Yeah,
Courtesy of Yugi.
Because one of Kaiba's Crush Card strategies involved a monster like Vorsoy that was too strong for Crush Card or Lodge-In and Shrink. But that makes Crush Card a 3-card combo. So this deck removes those to put in weaker monsters, and it makes Crush Card a lot easier. And if you distribute Sangan for it, then you're just way better off.
Wombo combo.
You just search whatever you want.
Dark Renewal, like we said, you have 3 spellcasters, so not that hard to use, but it's always a little bit of a tricky card to pull off. Certainly hard to use in this deck than Crush Card.
Yeah. Always a great way, if you can pull off. Great way to get rid of an opponent's monster. Plus, the way the card is worded, the monster you send on your field and your opponent's field occurs before you special summon one from your graveyard. So you could, in fact, send your opponent's monster, send your own monster, and then bring it right back. So all that really happens was you toss your opponent's monster.
Dragon's Rage. Back to a Kaiba card. And one that doesn't really help Yugi out at all, because Yugi doesn't have any dragons in this deck. He had Des Falscalf in his Virtual World deck, but he didn't use it in this duel.
And again, this goes that, with Kaiba's Virtual deck being much more dragon heavy than his regular deck, which still has a noble presence of dragons.
Last turn. This is the entire reason Yugi was able to take over for Kaiba and mix their cards together and play. Kaiba used this, so he ended up losing the duel while still having life points. So Yugi was able to say, hey, Noah, I'll jump in with Kaiba's remaining 400, 700 life points, whatever, and play.
And of course, this is obviously a very rare occurrence in the anime, or in any card game, really, where, so a player loses without losing life points. So those win conditions, this Exodia,
Destiny board,
Venom and Naga, a whole variety of cards, but we don't see them very much. And yeah, so Delta pulled this out to actually win the duel in our recreation, but in the anime it ended up being Kaiba's defeat, and the way Yugi was able to step in, pick up where Kaiba left off, and somehow win with hardly any life points left and half of Kaiba's deck plus his own. It also happens to show the spirit monsters, which we did then see in the duel. It's really irrelevant, but it's just a picture.
Yeah, Hinokage
it
Sushi
ties
and
in a little
Dragon. Nutrient Z.
So, one of Yugi's cards, and what Yugi did use in the anime to help him regain those life points that were missing since the time he stepped in.
Very convenient. And the last trap card is Kaiba's Ring of Destruction. Like we said, combos with the Ring of Defense. It's nice to see a deck full of classic Yugi and classic Kaiba cards.
And again, that white sticker just means it's been changed to its original effect, like Crush Card, that was the anime effect. Now it's so dumbed down, and we understand Konami has to sometimes dumb stuff down.
Yeah.
So that the cards are no longer banned, and then they just play more fairly. But at the same time, it's disappointing for us. But that's the 41 card deck, Yugi and Kaiba mixed together, and the last 2 fusions.
Blue Eyes Ultimate, Twin Head Thunder Dragon. Like we said, Kaiba made Twin Head Thunder Dragon, Yugi made Blue Eyes Ultimate to win the duel. It's really cool to see Yugi use Kaiba's Trump monster.
And what's funny, which we didn't mention in the Kaiba video that I will mention here, is that both of Kaiba's fusions require 2 or more copies of the same monster, unlike just about anybody else.
And there it is. That was the deck. Hopefully you guys liked it. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, look for more content to come, guys. We are never stopping here at YGO Anime Games. We have our tournament coming up soon, where we'll take 8 of our original anime decks and 8 of our GX decks, pair them against each other, see who comes out on top. It's something a lot of you guys have requested. So, yeah, guys, get hyped, get excited.
And I definitely encourage you at some point, if you want, really try this deck out. This is actually one of our most favorite decks.
It's fun.
There's characters we like, and they have cool decks, but this one's actually a lot of fun to play, because we both played this deck a lot when we were doing some duels before, outside of the one we filmed to show you guys.
So give it a whirl yourselves. Try it out.
Highly recommended by YGO Anime Games.
And YGO Anime Games, out.